So, P-Dina, Prince Harry is continuing to try and negotiate, or I would use another phrase here, bully to hell, the king in public over this summer visit. And I'm sick of it because it's like, when are you going to learn, man, that it is completely inappropriate and unacceptable, and the king simply will not have it, and the royal family simply will not have it, with you calling up trashy reporters at trashy mainstream media publications to try and force them into doing something they don't want to do. And of course, P-Dina, it is all because Prince Harry is due in the country next month. He still has no confirmation from the Home Office that he's going to get the taxpayer-funded security. Good. He still has no confirmation from King Charles that Harry will meet him. Good. Because remember, what remains so central to all of this is the threat, which is that if I don't get that, and he said this again, by the way, to the New York Post on page 6 this week, if I don't get that, then I'm not going to come with the children. I'll come on my own. And Charles is thinking, well, why do I want to go through that again? Like, yes, I want to have a relationship with my grandchildren, but I'm not going to interfere in government policy. But the thing I think I find most egregious, P-Dina, is the fact that Harry is either so stupid or so driven by hatred and bitterness that he doesn't understand that this cannot be a public negotiation. And the more he publicly negotiates, the more I think the king, and I pray and hope this is the case, has just decided to wash his hands of the whole thing. Don't miss a single update on the stories that actually matter. I'm breaking down the news every day, so make sure you subscribe to never miss a beat. Click that subscribe button right now.
Yeah, he has to, because it's just something that, Harry is, at the end of the day, is going to be the one regretting every decision. Once again, using your children as a prop, using them, to get what you want. And, the king can't really go in this back and forth with Harry about this because he's got work to do. He's got his health to focus on. Seeing your grandchildren should just be a natural thing. There should not be any negotiations around seeing your grandchildren. How absurd is that? And at the end of all of this, Dan, Harry is going to regret it so much, because you do not use your children as pawns to get what you want. Make it about your children seeing their grandfather. Make it about them having the experience of knowing your father, the king, before, he passes on. That's what it should be about. Why is Harry making like all these games around his children, trying to be this man that gets what he wants all the time, and using your children to do it? It's so wrong and disgusting. I don't even know. Harry is just a broken man, Dan. He is broken in a big way. And I feel sorry for those children. I really do, because they're the ones who are going to be the ones losing out and not having these experiences while they're young, because that's when it's meaningful. Because when you get older, you reminisce about when you were young and when you did that. These children are not going to have that with their cousins, and it's all Harry and Meghan's fault. They're the reason. So they need to get a grip. It's bad. It's really bad, because it's playing out on the world stage. Everyone's watching what you do, and you're still acting like a spoiled brat. Get over yourself.
Well, 100%, because the thing is, P-Dina, it doesn't even make sense. And this is, again, where Harry thinks just because he's stupid that the rest of the world is stupid and is going to swallow total lies. Because think about this for 1 second. If Harry really cared about the king and really wanted to allow the king to have a meeting with his 2 grandchildren who he has zero relationship with, then it's so simple, P-Dina, what he could do. And I actually believe this could be done in total secrecy as well, without the press needing to know at all. Harry could fly. I mean, he flies by private jet all the time, the time. And I think while a lot of his celebrity friends have decided not to allow them to use private jets in recent months and years because they felt used and they don't want to be part of the whole circus, I honestly believe, P-Dina, and I'm pretty confident of this knowing Elton John a little bit, that if Harry called Elton John and said the only way that I can get the children to see the king is with the private jet, I'm pretty sure Elton would, for this special occasion, allow the private jet to be used. And then you know what could happen, P-Dina? Harry could fly by private jet into Scotland directly. I'm sure the king would happily provide appropriate security for the drive from the airport to Balmoral. Now, we know that drive is only about 90 minutes, and I'm pretty sure the king would happily arrange that. Within the royal estate, P-Dina,
Yes,
he
right.
is completely protected by the
Right.
security, and they
It
could have
makes
a private meeting there with no photographs, and the king could get to know the two grandchildren at the time over summer when he has the time to do that. But you know
right.
why Harry won't do that, P-Dina? Because that's not what this is about. He wants the guarantee of security because that means he gets security forevermore, including, by the way, once
Mhm,
Prince William comes to the throne. So none of
mhm.
this is about trying to make King Charles happy because, as I said, and I hope I've just explained it okay, there is a way where if security really was a big deal, now I don't believe it is, by the way, because we've seen, Harry travel to Ukraine. We've seen Meghan on her own in Chicago with no security. We've seen them go to Australia. Security is the excuse, isn't it? Because they want us,
Yeah.
as in the British taxpayer, to have to pay for their security wherever they are in the world. But the point is, I have just
Mhm.
explained how this visit could take place, doing the right thing for the king with no publicity, no photographs, but full security provisions over the course of the visit. There's no need for him and the
Mhm.
children to leave Balmoral. It's a
Right.
massive estate, which is
Yeah.
perfect. I mean, they only have to be there for a few days. He doesn't
Yeah.
need to
It makes
gallivant around the country.
Yeah, you know what? It makes sense, Dan. And I didn't think about this till just now because I know part of the issue as well is Meghan. She does not want Harry to bring the children without her. Like she wants to go, but she doesn't really want to go to England, right? But Harry can't take the children without her. And I think this is why Harry wants to have this special security in place because that is the bar that Meghan has made it where you can go with the children if we have this. And unless we get this security, no children, especially not without her, right? She's making these demands. I think she's part of that because what you just laid out there makes complete sense. Why wouldn't it just would seem logical that he would bring the children under those circumstances? Okay. I mean, goodness knows they've got things that we don't even know about, right? So why can't you do that? And I think a part of that element has to do with Meghan and what she is putting, as an obstacle in front of Harry.
Has Prince Harry crossed an unforgivable line? Or has his public feud with King Charles gotten so toxic that he's now using his own young children as negotiating leverage against the British crown? The royal rift has hit a staggering new low following briefings leaked from Montecito to major U.S. news outlets like Page Six and the New York Post. Prince Harry is continuing his high-stakes public pressure campaign, issuing what critics describe as an ultimatum to King Charles: give him state-level security, or he will withhold Archie and Lilibet from seeing their grandfather. Dan Wootton and royal commentator P-Dina are calling out what they describe as a broken man waging emotional warfare on the world stage. But here's what Harry isn't telling you. There was already a quiet, fully secure solution to bring the children to Britain, and he deliberately rejected it. Let's look at the exact mechanics of this latest media push coming straight out of California. In the lead-up to UK events and Invictus Games countdowns, briefings began surfacing from Montecito reps detailing Harry's ongoing legal fight with Ravek and the Home Office. The message leaked to the press was simple yet ruthless. If the Home Office doesn't restore taxpayer-funded armed police protection for Harry, Meghan, and their children outside royal grounds, Harry will leave Archie and Lilibet in America. P-Dina did not hold back, calling the tactic disgusting and accusing Harry of treating his own children like publicity props.
Absolutely, because this briefing came out via the New York Post and its editor-at-large, Sarah Nathan. And it is coming directly from Montecito. Absolutely directly from Montecito. And it's interesting because the New York Post has actually decided to lead on the fact that there's no chance of a meeting with Prince William, sources told Page Six. And it's like, well, we all know that. Like, we all know that. And that is not, that's not the choice of Prince Harry. That is the choice of Prince William. But what is fascinating is all of the detail provided within the story because we know where it's come from. We know it's come directly from Harry and Meghan. So Sarah Nathan reports the prince's security fight with his homeland's government is still not fully resolved, we're told, despite his hopes the UK Home Office would finally sign off for taxpayer-funded armed security for his wife and children. And the irony here is, again, Prince Harry jumped the gun. He allowed briefing going out to newspapers like the Mail on Sunday. Oh, we're definitely going to get security. And again, That didn't please the government. As multiple sources have told us, Harry is keen to reconcile with the royal family. Well, again, he should have thought about that before he trashed them. He was still persona non grata, however, at his cousin Peter Philip's wedding at the weekend. Yes, he was. He wasn't invited. But then we get to the interesting part, P-Dina. While Harry would love, because it's the threat that I'm talking about, so I just want everyone to read between the lines. While Harry would love to bring Markle and their children, Archie and Lilibet, back to his homeland, sources stress that no firm plans have been made and matters are first focused on the Invictus event. Harry is set to attend the 1 year to go countdown celebration on July the 10th. There have been reports the prince does not have his brother's phone number. However, we're told this is nonsense, but he has not seen William since the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. William, sources said, remains furious. He does, and that ain't going to change. Archie was just an infant when he left the UK. Lily has only been to the UK once. Both children have barely met their grandfather, and sources said Harry would love to rectify this. Well, I've explained how he could. And then you get to the sort of Team Harry propaganda, where they report Harry has pleaded for armed protection when visiting the UK, telling the BBC last May that he was devastated to lose the legal challenge over his security. In January, the Daily Mail cited government sources saying his security would be approved, adding it's now a formality. Sources at the Home Office have indicated that security is nailed on for Harry, but Harry and his lawyers have yet to have an update from the Home Office, sources confirmed. We have reached out to Sussex reps for comment, with or without his family. As of yet, there is no agreed time for Harry to meet his dad, we're told, although we told that Harry believes his father could overrule the government on the issue. Sources previously told us it was not a matter for Charles and his courtiers. So again, it's like so much threat included within that as well, P-Dina, because it's like Harry just will not move on from the fact that his father is not prepared to create a constitutional crisis here. And good on him for putting his foot down.
Yeah, I think he has to because, where will it end? Harry will always keep wanting more and more if his father gives. Now, I have heard that a decision has been made. We just don't know what it is, right? So they are definitely going to, I think, I don't know, announce something maybe soon. But Harry's in a position now where he's just trying to force his father's hand. And the king just cannot fall into that because, behind it, we have to understand, Dan, that Meghan is the one behind Harry making these demands. I think she's the one making it so complicated and difficult. And Harry is just falling into doing what Meghan tells him to do because, he is kind of like that child that wants what he wants. So it doesn't make sense. It lets me know that Harry is just trying to be complicated, whether or not he is, going to adhere to some things that Meghan wants or not. I think breaking from Meghan into really seeing what is important is what he needs to do at this point. Because you're talking about time. Time is something that you can never get back. And, he regretted the time when his mother passed, the time he could not get back. And once again, he is falling into a position where he is losing out and time is going to keep going. And, it waits for no one. And it's going to be a huge regret for Harry. And I think it will cause him enormous stress and mental anguish once it is all done, because the time will be gone and he needs to act with urgency. And that means putting aside whatever it is your wife might be telling you, whatever it is that you might want, and thinking about the time that your children are missing out with a man, and the clock is ticking. And what are you going to do when the clock stops and your father is no longer here and your children have not seen him? These are the important things that Harry needs to talk about. This is what a mature man would think and look at. And I think having that Meghan woman on your back, whatever it is that she is saying, you need to break free and you need to make some serious grown-up decisions to bring your children to see their grandfather. That is what is important, nothing else, because you will be taken care of, and you know that. So Harry's got some serious things to do, and it's a shame he's not acting on it with some urgency.
It really is. It really is, P-Dina, because Prince William is talking about how he will change the monarchy when he does take the throne. And despite that wedding reunion last weekend, where he did give a little peck on the cheek to Beatrice, there are clear signs coming from William's camp that the days of Beatrice and Eugenie, for example, enjoying royal perks like living rent-free in royal properties will be over. P-Dina, do you think this was the right decision for Prince William's team to quite openly brief against his cousins this week, despite that sort of softening by meeting with them at Peter Phillips's wedding to Harriet Spurling?
I think you kind of have to let the public know what your intentions are so that when it does happen, people are not surprised. And I think you have to look at yourself as someone who is a leader, who has to make very tough decisions about people who are in your family. But at the same time, it's a business. And I think William is very much justified to say these things about these tightening of certain things and protocols, because that's what he has to do to save the monarchy. I mean, so much has happened with Andrew and, Harry and Meghan that he has to make some very drastic decisions. And sometimes, your family members are going to be caught in between that. But that's the price that has to be paid to make sure that your legacy of running or being the head of the monarchy goes smoothly. And that's exactly what he is doing, because he is a smart leader. He has very smart people around him helping him to make these decisions and choices. So absolutely, you got to do what you got to do. It's family, but it's also a business.
King Charles is caught in an awful position. As a grandfather, he wants a meaningful relationship with his youngest grandchildren, whom he has barely seen in 4 years. But as king, Charles cannot overrule the UK Home Office or force government bodies to grant taxpayer security to non-working royals. Harry knows this, and is trying to force a constitutional crisis anyway. Now, here is the absolute smoking gun that completely destroys Harry's claim that he can't safely bring his family to Britain. Dan Wootton broke down exactly how a safe, private visit could have taken place without a single camera or threat. If this was truly about family love and allowing a sick, elderly king to see Archie and Lilibet, Harry could take a private jet directly into Scotland. He could be picked up on the tarmac under full royal estate security and driven straight onto the private, gated grounds of Balmoral Castle. Zero paparazzi, zero public exposure, total 24/7 protection.
Well, yes, because you speak about Andrew, and there has been another revelation this week. P-Dina, Epstein's PA, dined with Andrew in his Buckingham Palace rooms. So this is Sarah Kellen, who says Epstein raped her repeatedly, claiming that both Andrew and Fergie were notable people in the paedophile finances network. Let me take you through the report. A woman who said that she was regularly raped by Epstein while working as his assistant has told the US authorities that she was invited to dinner at Buckingham Palace in Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's private rooms. Sarah Callan, who worked for Epstein as a personal assistant for more than a decade from 2001, said that she also attended the 18th birthday party of Andrew's daughter, Princess Beatrice. Callan testified before the US House Oversight Committee on May the 21st, during which she was questioned about Epstein's network of prominent individuals. In a transcript released by the committee, Callan identified Andrew and his former wife, Sarah Ferguson, as being notable people in the convicted paedophiles network. She said Prince Andrew was at the New York house. We also went to Andrew's private apartment at Buckingham Palace for dinner, and we were at Princess Beatrice's party at Windsor Castle. Now, P-Dina, none of those facts are actually new. I mean, we've seen the pictures of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at the palaces posing on the thrones. But it just shows you, doesn't it, that the drip in terms of the revelations for the British royal family, especially given that this testimony was actually made before the US House Oversight Committee, isn't just going to go away. And maybe it does back up what you're saying in terms of why William is doing what he's doing, because, again, we see Princess Beatrice, and maybe it's not entirely her fault because it was her parents' decision, but in some way she's dragged in.
Yeah. And, this is what has to happen, because I think that William knows so much more than we know. I mean, they've seen everything. They know the drip. They know more is coming. And I think at this point, you've just got to put these things, checks and balances in place, because I think it is so much worse than we have actually seen so far, Dan. So I think William is ahead of this and he knows what he is doing, and good for him, because we still don't know what's going to happen with, the other problem makers, Harry and Meghan. But I think he knows the things with Andrew and what's happened and the things that have not been put out there in the public domain. So he's just protecting the monarchy in a way that I think secures it so that when these things do continue to come out, there are safeguards in place, and things have been said that he's going to do X, Y, and Z, and we expect it, we've heard it, and we just wait for him to do it. And so it's a good thing. It's a very good strategy, I think.
So why won't Harry do it? Because a quiet, private visit to Balmoral gives him no red carpet optics, no paparazzi photos to license, and no state-funded Ravex status that guarantees permanent international security for life. Commentators argue Meghan Markle has set a strict bar. No UK trip for the kids unless state security and maximum publicity are guaranteed. While Harry continues his public media war, Prince William is quietly preparing for the future of the monarchy, and his message to non-working royals could not be clearer. Reports emerging from William's camp reveal that when he takes the throne, the era of non-working royals enjoying free grace and favor housing, royal perks, and taxpayer-funded lifestyle benefits will be officially over. That means 0 free passes for Beatrice, Eugenie, or Prince Andrew. With new testimony from U.S. congressional hearings reminding the public of past royal scandals, William understands that the monarchy must be run like a streamlined, accountable business. P-Dina praised William's proactive strategy, noting that setting firm boundaries now is the only way to protect the crown from future chaos. Is Prince Harry wrong to use his children's security as leverage against King Charles, or is King Charles to blame for not stepping in? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. We are exposing every single detail behind these public relations games today. If you stand for raw, independent royal analysis and calling out double standards, smash that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. For more sharper, independent royal commentary.